Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about an October 2025 Canmore Real Estate market update. Let's get into the different market areas and see what happened this month and break her down.
Sounds great. So we'll talk about Canmore specifically first. We had 29 sales in the month of October. Average sale price was 1.043 and change. The average square foot price was $755 a square foot. And the average days on the market was 65 days.
Deadman's Flats, one sale. That property sold for just over $600,000. Average square foot price $856 a foot, and it took an average of 21 days to sell.
Harvey Heights, one sale, $955,000 and change. $893 a square foot and 34 days on the market.
Lac des Arcs, there was nothing. Exshaw, one sale, $400,000. It was a lot sale, and the average days on the market was 197 days.
Banff, there was two sales. The average sale price was $1,088,000, $795 a square foot, and 105 days on the market.
Okay, let's chat about the specific property types in the Canmore real estate market. Single family, there were three sales. Average sale price was just shy of 165. Average square foot price 1049, and it took 86 days on average to move those.
Townhomes, there was 13 sales. The average sale price was just under $780,000. The average square foot price was $618 a square foot and 71 days on the market.
Apartments, we saw five sales. Average sale price coming in at just over $1 million. Average square foot price $769 a foot, and it took an average of 75 days to sell.
13 half duplexes sold. There was 13 in the inventory. One sale, $2.182 million. $715,000 a square foot and 25 days on the market.
Hotel condos, we saw five sales. $720,000 was the average sale price. $943 a foot and 44 days it took to move.
Tourist homes, one sale, $875,000, just under that. $1,056 was the average square foot price and 20 days on the market.
So we'll break down that stuff as we move forward in the video, but let's get right into the year-to-date and annual stuff. So sold listings year-to-date, that's you.
Perfect. In 2024, we had 415 total sales. 2025, we have 362, so we're down 13%.
End of month active inventory, 2024, there was 143. 2025, 160, up 12% in the end of month active inventory.
And the average sale price has continued to creep up, $1.18 million in 2024 and $1.271 million in 2025. So we're up 8%.
All right, that's kind of the statistics of what we saw in October. Let's get into the bread and butter of this and talk about what we think is happening. For me, it's more of the same. We're still a buyer's market. I think we're still heading into that 8% average sale price year to date has come down again from the previous 10.5.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is going to be, are we going to see that kind of level out now? Because that's kind of where I thought it would probably end up at the end of the year was 8%. I don't know how optimistic I feel about it.
Well, I think that it's a loaded question. The issue for me, not the issue, where we're at is I think the market, we're definitely in a downturn market. We're changing. We have been moving from a seller's to a buyer's. We'll discuss what a buyer's market really is. Mm-hmm. But I think there's two factors right now. The market's changing. Plus, we're coming into a season where we typically don't have as many sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the numbers will look more skewed because we don't typically have as many sales, November through March even. So I think we'll have to see, and I think maybe this is what the consumer is doing.
Yeah.
He's looking and going, the buyers are looking and going, okay, it's a buyer's market. Well, what's that going to look like in the end?
Yeah.
We said in our last video or the video before, you never want to try and time the market, especially here in Canmore. We talked a little bit about, is there deals and what those deals could look like if you were looking for, we talked about in a video shoot we just did about looking for a great property at a fair value instead of looking for a good property at a better price. Deals don't happen here. The market will determine what fair market value is. What do you think what is a buyer's market? Like, what does that mean for people?
Yeah, what I think it means is I think sellers have more competition right now, which they typically do at this time of the year, but the most we've seen. So we're sitting at 4.26 months supply of inventory.
Yeah.
That's a 23% increase from last October.
Yeah.
So the competition levels are high. It sounds like a broken record, but pricing is very important.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad time to sell, right? Like until we see the average sale price start going the other way, it's not a bad time to sell.
No.
It's just, there's just more competition out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what we're going to find, in my personal opinion, is that it's going to stay like that for a while and not necessarily like buyer's market. But I do think that our inventory levels are going to be different than what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think one thing to highlight is the days on the market is the highest increase that we've seen in 5 years in the month of October.
Yeah.
Now, take that with a grain of salt because October is just October and we're looking at a small sample size. But yeah, I mean, I think that the $850,000 to $1 million price point is what we're seeing moving. I mean, you take a look at the townhomes, we saw 13 sales.
Yeah.
That's the highest out of everything. And typically those are priced in that range. Obviously, there's some that creep up a little bit higher. But yeah, it's an interesting market for sure. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest with you. It's just kind of weird.
Well, and I think in the 15 years I've been doing this, we see the markets change. Like there's ebbs and flows in any kind of market, whether you're talking about stock markets or anything. Same in real estate. Are there peaks and valleys? Absolutely. The valleys tend to be smaller here. They don't tend to drop as far. I mean, you think 82, 2008, 2013. Those were kind of valleys in a way in where we live here. But one thing that when we were looking at this data, looking at the 96% sold to ask ratio. I mean, every video we used to do was in the 99s. And, the 96, well, you have to take consideration that this is from the last price. So that doesn't even take into consideration the
Price reduction, if there was any. Yeah.
And every week we get the same data, you and I, and when anything happens in the market, whether it's a price reduction, a sale, condition, whatever, we see that. And there's been lots of price reductions.
Yeah.
And while I think that scares a lot of people, I think what it tells me is find yourself, if you're in the market and you're looking to sell or buy, find yourself an agent that understands pricing. Because you are looking for a great property at a fair price. Yeah. And that's what most people are looking for. Yeah. And so pricing becomes very, very key, especially when you're in a downturn market. Because if you price over, by the time you get to the price that you could have listed it for, you're already down here because prices keep to drop a little bit. So find yourself an agent who is well-versed and understands what's going on in the market and is honest with you. Yeah. There's agents, there's lots of agents out there that are honest And you really got to find that agent that'll help you determine what fair market value is for sure.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Everyone just wants to be, and the statistics support it. So it's it's nothing crazy that's happening right now for somebody to recommend a price that might be a little bit less than what you were expecting, but in the long run it makes sense. And then on the buyer's side, like we had this whole conversation about deals. Like if you're looking for a deal in Canmore, well, like, sorry, that was 20 years ago, like when a handshake actually meant something, or, a lot sold for a bottle of scotch or something like that. Like that doesn't happen here anymore.
No.
A deal is, like we said, finding a great property for a fair price. Now that fair price, there might be some potential right off the rip with that, but that's my personal opinion. Like deal hunting doesn't exist. So don't be a seller that's deal hunting either.
No.
No, you can't have it both ways. And I think a lot of people think they can. And it just doesn't work.
As a seller, I encourage you to remove the emotion from the process. Yeah. We all think that what we have, what we own, our kids, everything are the best. We always do. It's just our human nature. And it's not that your product is not the best. It's just we have to put ourselves in the shoes of a buyer and what the market's doing, because a property is only worth what a seller's willing to sell for and a buyer's willing to pay, and that's the ultimate goal. If you're in a market where you're flooding and there's just a ton of positive stuff going on, which we saw going through COVID, and things were just, you could add another 10 or 20 or 30 grand onto your listing and boom, it would sell.
Yeah.
We're not in that market.
No.
Right? So
Nobody wants to be in that market. It's
not sustainable.
It's so funny to me, and like people might take this the wrong way, but like everyone is so rattled during COVID because you couldn't have conditions in your offer, you couldn't have something to sell. It was just a gong show. And then now some of those people are like, wow, my place is worth this. Like, how come we're not getting multiple offers? How come it's not getting showings? It's like,
yes,
we don't need to get into that. But
no.
Yeah, I think that the market is still fairly steady. And a good way to look at this is just reiterating what we just said about finding a great property, because the great properties right now are selling.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are bringing the days in the market. While the days in the market are creeping up, the good properties are selling really quick if you look at the data. And if you are listening to this and you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, tell me, I don't understand what do you mean by great properties are selling. Like, we can show you data of stuff staying on the market and pricing, and then we can show you properties that sell within 2 or 3 days. And it's all around pricing. Everything always comes down to what somebody's willing to take and what somebody's willing to pay. So,
prime example, active inventory that we have in the market right now, there's a total of 141 active listings as of this minute. 96 days is the average days on the market for those active listings.
Yeah. And we're at a 65.
And we're at a 65. So that's very clear of what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, certain things are going to take longer to sell. There's no question about that, just because, it might be a $3 million property plus, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking for a
There's unique
specific buyer.
situations.
And days on the market is not necessarily, if you have a property that is on the market for a long time, that doesn't necessarily always mean that it's overpriced.
Cool.
So it's just making sure that you get educated, because all of this information is super important.
Yeah.
And that's all that really matters right now.
Yeah.
Is before you could have hired a robot, and now you can't.
No.
You need somebody who's gonna help you and has your best interest in mind. Like, marketing didn't matter. None of that stuff mattered in COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't. And now all this stuff is super, super important. And that's how it should be. Like, it's healthy to have it like that.
Well, and I think on your point there, you're talking about things being prepared and ready, and make sure you connect with somebody that makes your property stand out.
Yeah.
We went into a property on Realtor Rounds a couple weeks ago. I remember going in there and going, ooh, whether it's a little bit of paint or a little bit of staging, and those types of things help properties sell. Whereas before, if you're a real estate agent and Parker, you're young coming into this, at times you probably were like, holy cow, this is easy.
Yeah,
This
is gold mine.
This is gold mine.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it should be.
No.
And there are times in real estate where that happens, but you need to make sure you're prepared.
Yeah.
Little things, landscaping, staging, painting, lighting, all of these things matter now.
Yeah.
They really do, along with ultimately
What
pricing.
what differentiates you from the property next door? Whereas
Exactly.
before, didn't matter.
Exactly, 100%.
So, I think that's kind of a wrap on the video. At the end of the day, we are in a buyer's market.
Yeah.
And we're trending that way.
Yeah.
It's going to slow down here just in general through these months. Great time to buy, great time to be a seller with a good asset at a fairly priced
Absolutely.
property. At the end of the
100%.
day, that's the reality of it. I don't think waiting's going to change anything. It might get a little bit better for a buyer, maybe, but and by that I mean just more inventory potentially.
We don't know that.
But that I think that explains what's happening in the market right now. I expect November to be basically a replica of our conversation right now, which sucks. I wish we could talk about something completely different rather than saying the same things over and over. But it's important. Sometimes people need to hear it multiple times to really understand what's going on, and the data is supporting that. So if people want the data, they know they can reach out to us and we can get it to them, and we're happy to provide that information. So if you don't have anything else to add, I think that's good.
No, I think that's good. I mean, again, learning and understanding the market is key in any market, and I think that this has given us a snapshot over the last 3 months of where we're at.
Bingo.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you next time.